Well, to be honest, I love bringing order to chaos and creating joyful and happy experiences and helping people, just have a good time. Ask questions, observe, and follow the lead of the family who are hosting.
Hi everyone, welcome to Wisdom for Exploits with me, Bola Amore. I have a wonderful lady with me today. Her name is Mrs. Toyin Orewole, aka Ologis. The topic of our discussion is etiquette. So what is etiquette? Etiquette is about showing respect and good manners through polite behavior. Proper etiquette includes social behavior, workplace professionalism, and online interaction. Etiquette encompasses various forms such as dining, telephone, meeting, weddings, birthday parties, social media, and workplace etiquette, each with its own set of rules. Before my guest introduce herself, please do not forget to subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to be notified whenever we upload new videos. Thank you. Over to you, my wonderful guest. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, good evening. My name is Tony Orowale, and everyone knows me as Ologzi, Ologzy. And I am a teacher by profession. I am also a Masters of Ceremony, a compare. Also dabbled into event planning and used to be a children's entertainer. So sort of encompassing everything. I am a mother of two, wife to one husband.
Wonderful. That's a good one. Thank you for honoring this call, my wonderful guest. Thank you so much. So today our focus is going to be on etiquette and is a second series on this topic, which is wedding and celebration etiquette. My introduction to you, my wonderful guest, is what inspired you to become a planner, MC, and teacher?
Well, to be honest, I love bringing order to chaos and creating joyful and happy experiences and helping people, just have a good time. When it comes to planning, it's just, like I said, just bringing order. When it comes to obviously comparing at events, it's just a case of making sure that everybody does have a good time. Teaching, on the other hand, obviously, I just like to uplift others, empower, and motivate. So I teach in a secondary school between the ages of 11 to 16, and I actually teach maths. So yes, just uplifting, empowerment, enjoyment, and bringing about joyful experiences.
Wonderful. You're a mathematician. That's good. So our question, the first one we're going to focus on is foundations and cultural respect. What are the biggest wedding etiquette mistakes couples make and how can they avoid them?
I think for me, respect of my experiences, not just even as someone who plans events or compares at events, is leaving details too late. For example, I attended a party yesterday and we only got the details probably about 4 or 5 days before, even though they'd asked us to save the dates. And I had to actually contact the organizers to say, we haven't received anything. So information wasn't coming timely and it was actually unclear. So I think that is a very very big mistake. Communication is key in everything that we do.
Sure.
So for me, that is very important. And also being clear about the timelines and about what is actually going to happen, especially if there are multiple events happening, or should I say facets to the event happening on the day. So that is for me one of the, sort of mistakes, or should I say, challenges when it comes to what, the mistakes they make. Yes.
Okay. So communication, they need to communicate clearly.
Yes, communicate on time, timely, and repeating the communications, timely, updating as much as possible. And also being aware that not everyone, in as much as we live in a world where, oh yes, we have the internet, etc., depending on the type of guest you have to be mindful of the age range of the guest you have. When you're communicating with Gen Zs, yes, they're happy to be contacted via some maybe website you've put together where they can RSVP. The older generation, the baby bloomers, will probably want to maybe to contact them via WhatsApp and maybe chase them up with a phone call. So there also has to be multiple channels of communication to be able to reach out to the variety of guests that you actually have.
That's a good one, truly. That's a good one. So you don't categorize people in one place. That's
Not
good.
at all. It's not a one size fits all. It's equity. What does that group need?
That's a good one. So why does ceremony etiquette matters, and how does it help guests honor the couples and their families?
Well, to be honest, etiquette really matters. It sets the tone. It actually helps to honor tradition, and it helps every guest understand how they can actually support the couple respectfully while ensuring that they also have a good time. Because at the end of the day, the guests are also giving up their time. So it is important for us to know what the expectations are and how to manage these expectations.
That's a good one. Wow. So how does good etiquette help manage family expectation and reduce conflict? In weddings and ceremony, we've seen a lot of conflicts, different kind of conflict, fighting on different kind of things.
I think it is a tricky one because some of our culture can be quite emotional. Okay. And therefore you have to make decisions that are free from emotion. And it can be, like I said, tricky, but it can be managed. And because when you do that, it then obviously, you don't have just neutral rules so that no one is actually overlooked or misunderstood in any case. So it's just getting to that place where, the decisions we make, you have to take everybody into account. But it will take a while to get there. There may be conflicts when you start off, but being intentional, knowing fully well that these decisions have to be fair, and we have to remove emotion from all the logistical planning, so to reduce family conflict. And it, like I said, everyone has had a different perspective, but we have to, disagree sometimes to actually agree, reaching a common ground, making compromise.
Okay, let's say for example now African wedding now, yeah, and families, the couple said, okay, we want this so amount of guests in our wedding. And the parents now comes in and said, no, I want to bring all my family, including, let's say from the mother's side. They said, I need to bring for my my father's side, my mother's side. And the couple said, Mommy, you know what? This is our wedding. It's not your wedding. This is for you. So how can they undo that? Because I've seen so many weddings whereby the family, the parents, they want to invite all their friends, especially when their parents are in the club.
Yeah.
Some of our parents, they are in this club, and they will say, Egbe, this, Egbe, that, this club.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And it's their daughter, son getting wedding, they want to bring everyone.
Yes. I mean, they're twofold. Weddings, as for me, are twofold. You have the traditional wedding, and you have the church, or should I say ceremony, or what have you, or whatever religion you are. I've always postulated, and I say to my children, look, the traditional wedding is mine. Okay, I'm going to invite all and sundry. Your church wedding ceremony, etc., is yours. If you want 20 guests, you want 30 guests, that is up to you. And that's the compromise I have in place. My kids obviously are just still, they're 17 and 22, but I've kind of started drumming it into their memory, you know what I mean, that they keep it in there. So I think the challenges are people wait too long. They wait till when the wedding is about to take place before they start discussing these type of issues. So now my kids know that when they're getting married, all they have to do is show up in their traditional outfit, and I'm going to invite as many guests as I want. Obviously, the onus is on me to pay for it. I'm happy to. But if they say they only want 50 guests at the church ceremony, I have to tell everybody, I'm sorry, but this is what they want because it's their day. And so these are the kind of things we have to try to navigate, because at the end of the day, it's not my wedding. Okay, in terms of the ceremony, going to church and all of that and saying their vows, it is for them. So I have to respect that. But the traditional one, which obviously is more on the cultural side, is mine. Left to them, they don't have to do it. So therefore, why not take advantage of it and make it the big wedding and just invite all and sundry? So that's the way you can actually go about it.
That's a good one, though, because so now parents should have it at the back of their mind that, you know what, the wedding is not yours, it's for your children. So the traditional one you can. So what about in the case whereby the couple said, we don't want tradition, we just want our church wedding and go? How can they?
Well, I don't think it's something that it's not about what they want. It is what they need to do. And like I said, it's not something you'd wait till they start planning the wedding that you introduce it to them. If you've exposed your children to attending these type of events and enlightening them about the importance of having these traditional weddings, etc., and the significance to culture, then obviously this is something they would understand and they would have to compromise. Like I've said to my children, all you have to do is show up. I'll just give you the outfits, put it on, and you're there, and they're happy. It's just one day, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's like I said, it's not something you spring on them 3 months to the wedding. It's something you've been talking about even before they even met their spouses, when they were young. It's what you've exposed them to. You can't blame them if you can't blame some children when they say they don't want it because they're not exposed to it. They haven't seen the richness of it. When I think about it, some of my children and some of their their friends would say, oh my God, they're looking forward to when they'll be sprayed on the dance floor, they're dancing, their attention because they've been exposed to it. If you don't expose them to it and you don't let them understand the richness of the culture when we have a traditional wedding and the relevance, then they're not going to want it.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Thank you. So, how can guests navigate cross-cultural custom respectively?
They need to ask questions, okay, and observe and follow the lead of the family hosting. It's very important to ask questions. If you're unsure, just ask. That's what it is. Never make assumptions. That's just the wrong thing to do. Never make assumptions. Doesn't matter what your preconceived ideas are of a certain culture. Everyone is still different because families, obviously, and communities exist under the same culture, but they will do things differently and may do things differently. So ask questions, observe, and follow the lead of the family who are hosting.
Okay, so that's a good etiquette.
Yes.
Okay, we're moving on to invitation, RSVP, and sittings.
Okay.
What is the right way to RSVP or share updates without stressing the couple?
Well, I am sometimes guilty of this, and it's about responding early.
Okay.
So I think it's important to respond early, and just follow the listed instructions. Whatever they've asked you to do, just do it. And you don't need to put in any longer explanations. But I think the right way is to really respond early, keep updates quite brief and polite. If anything changes, say for example, you said you're going to come and you're unable to attend, let them know on time, because a lot of these things, especially when you have weddings or events, obviously in a Western world, it does cost a lot of money per seat. So I'm mindful of that. So I think it's important to respond early. And also, like you mentioned earlier, sometimes you may have wanted to invite XYZ, but because you invited ABC, you can't afford to invite XYZ. But if A says they can't make it, then you can actually bring X in. So I think it's important that we respond early. And in most cases these days, obviously, 99% of the time, obviously, there are event coordinators or event planners. And obviously, any information should be obviously going filtered through to them.
So how do we manage, because I know with Gen Z and the millennial, I believe they are good in that. What about this baby boomer, whereby they are getting old and they have a lot, they can't even remember something?
I agree.
To them.
I agree. I think obviously that's the job of the events planner, to be sure, to be honest. Their job, they're paid to actually ensure the event is well planned. And the first thing is the foundation in terms of who is coming, and then we begin to build on that. It's the responsibility of the event planner in any case, whether paid or unpaid, to ensure they reach out to the guests who have not responded, which does happen, to find out, okay, what's going on? Are you still coming? You haven't actually indicated if you wanted this actually okay. You haven't indicated if you would be coming with a +1, because those are the kind of things that actually happen, where are you coming with somebody else? What's the name of the person and stuff like that. So, those lines of communication have to be kept open. And obviously, this is done by the events planner.
Some culture, let's say for our own culture now, some people are fond of when you invite them to a party, even though the person is saying, don't bring just you only, because there are some invitations say strictly by invitation.
Yeah.
So when they say that, and you said, okay, I have another auntie I want to bring along, and how do we cope with that?
It's just a simple no. It's like, no, this is what it is, because if you flip the coin, these are these same people who would do the same thing. So it's a case of, I'm sorry, I'm maybe going a step further by explaining, to be honest, that look, it's actually going to cost X, Y, and Z. And this is what our budget is. So unfortunately, at this stage, we won't be able to, accept your plus one. Or also things like, look, I've only invited the nearest and dearest who actually have this list has been carefully selected based on the relationships I have with different people, and I want to share my day with people that I actually know. So there's so many ways to actually go around it, and there's no harm in actually trying to explain. Now, whether they understand or not is entirely not your business. So that's why I said sentiments and emotions have to be taken out of it.
Okay, that's good. So, what is the etiquette around sitting? Switching seats, saving seats, or politely declining a move?
Now, it just depends. Sitting etiquette is different. In some situations you have table names, and then obviously on the table, well, at the outside there's where you see your name, you sit down on the table. So they haven't actually put a placeholder as to this is where you're going to sit exactly on the table. So you can sit anywhere on your table. Now, obviously, a lot of times when we do put our sitting plans together, it's based on, and it does take a while for sitting plans to be put together, because what you don't want to do is put people together who are not going to interact. Because, like I said from the beginning, it's all about ensuring that your guests have a joyful experience. And that includes, obviously, sitting with the right like-minded people, or people where they have same sort of commonality. It could be their age range, it could be maybe the same school, it could be maybe the same church, or what have you. It could be couples. It just depends. So seats where they are assigned, you sit where you're assigned. Avoid swapping seats. You find people who swap seats is because probably they feel maybe uncomfortable about the table they're sitting on, and want to sit on their friend's table. But if you have a really strict policy, or should I say, well-planned events where you have ushers who are moving around, the ushers need to do their jobs and say, this is, escort this person to their seats. Okay, so it's important to respect the couple's planning, and it's also the responsibility of the events management company or what have you to ensure that, the ushers also do their jobs properly.
I think one thing I'm going to say when it comes to sitting, I know you mentioned a little bit about people want to sit next to people they look like. I've been to, should I say a gathering, like a celebration, something. And the person that accompanied me, they put her in another place, they put me in another place, very close to the organizer of that person, the host of that celebration thing. And she wasn't feeling comfortable. The people sitting next to her were not connecting.
Yeah.
So she's like, you know what, I don't feel comfortable sitting with them, because some people, when you sit with them, they ignore you because you're not their friends. So I think that's what they should know in organizer. That's for the organizer now, that sometimes when people swap, I know it's not a nice etiquette in a party to swap seats, but people should be aware when they're doing RSVP, to know that, okay, these people and this person, are they coming from the same home? Are they friends? Let me put them together. Don't let me put Mr. B down, on seat number 10, and I put Mrs. B on seat number C. I know maybe for couples they won't. So I think
absolutely.
But sometimes anyway, in a party,
sometimes it's unavoidable, because it depends on how quickly this guest actually RSVP'd and then said later on, oh, actually I'm bringing another guest. And they've actually filled up the table, and therefore your other guest, unfortunately, because you RSVP'd too late, or you actually just said you had a plus one later than normal, they have to put the person on another table. So sometimes it just depends. It's actually trying to unearth exactly what happened, and you can't do that for every single guest who's actually unhappy. And to be fair, you cannot please everyone. So you can only do your best.
Yeah, you can only do your best. And I think even despite that, you still have to sit where they put you, though.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just honor, really.
It's just their party. You're not going to be there for the whole day.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Arrival timing and processional. When should guests arrive, and how should latecomer enter without causing a scene? Some
Yeah.
people with their I went to a party. The woman came and everybody attention was just on that woman with the gele, with the makeup, everything with it. I think he even dressed more than the celebrant. And everybody were looking at the woman. Why is he taking attention? And the person giving remark was up there. And everybody was focusing on the woman. So how do we how do we undo arrival?
I mean, it just depends on the type of. I mean, if it's a wedding, obviously, with weddings, we know that it's a wedding reception, so it's structured and timed. Unfortunately, a lot of events, say for example, possibly don't start on time, and
Mm-hmm.
so therefore, people have decided to, put in a, like, okay, you know what? On average, I've seen that it starts 30 minutes or 1 hour later, so I'm actually going to come that 1 hour after I'm expected to be there, or it just may be a case that you have another event and you're trying to just make sure you're in two places,
Mm-hmm.
within the number of hours you are. Now, when it's a wedding, there are some times when you cannot enter. When speeches are being said, I don't think you should be walking around. Um, you know, when vote, speeches or toast or remarks, or when people give what's that word? When you give not speeches, when people give
Remark.
testimony. Yeah, when people give testimonies about you, what they want to say
Oh, okay.
something
We're
about you.
still coming to that, yeah.
Yeah, people should not be moving around. But then at the end of the day, it's also down to the event management of the day. Because at that point in time, somebody must be stationed at the door. So if someone is about to enter, you have to ask them to politely wait. When prayers are being said, I find it very rude for people to be walking around. So therefore, you must remain, just wait. Okay, there should be, even when there's a procession, say for example, the bride and the groom are coming in, etc. That's not the time to be moving around. So
Mm,
it's something that I think should be highlighted by, say for example, the compare
mm,
at the beginning of the event as to the type of etiquette that should be observed. Not so much so in a school manner, but
mm.
just actually, highlighting to the guests that look, this is what's going to happen today. It would be nice and respectful for us to honor and respect the couple, respect the guests, respect the celebrant, and also respect one another.
Mm.
One of the, and so therefore, when this is happening, there'll be no food being served. When this is happening, this is, so people's expectations are actually managed, and also the guests are not upset, because at the end of the day, the guests will say, look, they've actually taken time out to celebrate with you, and this is not what they expected. So it should be made plain.
Okay, what about the issue of timing? Because we're talking about wedding and celebration. Now, someone is having a birthday party, and in their invitation, they put in 2 o'clock, or let's say party start 3 o'clock. So you expect all your guests to be seated, isn't it, in the
Not,
hall?
not
And some
necessarily.
people
Not
are
necessarily.
there,
Not,
the
not
party has not
necessarily.
started. So is that a good etiquette
Like
from?
I, like I said, some people have more than one or two or three events on the day.
No, I'm talking about I mean, the celebrants themselves.
Oh, arriving.
Yeah, they put
Yes.
3 o'clock
Mm,
in their invitation that this is when our party is starting.
mm.
They themselves are not in the hall or in the
Oh yes.
venue.
Oh yes. That is a very, very common problem within African culture.
Mhm.
I think one thing we do not respect is each other's times. We do not plan carefully. Yes, a lot of times you anticipate being there on time.
Mm.
Females will blame it on the makeup artist or the person tying their gele, saying it took more time than necessary. Time has not been factored into, any delays that may actually occur. And a lot of guests who have traveled far and wide have sat down and are waiting for you. Now, I find it very disrespectful.
Mhm.
And I know that sometimes it's not intentional, but I think it's something that every celebrant should actually be intentional about respecting and honoring people's time. Or some people do it deliberately, thinking, okay, if I say 3 o'clock, technically I want to start at 5 anyway, it gives people time to get there. But there are some people who respect their own time and will arrive there at 3 o'clock. What about those people? Just because they're there in the minority does not mean their time should not be respected. I think it's important that we begin to review our integrity with time, because it
Mm.
speaks volumes about the kind of person we actually are.
It's true. That's a good one because I've received an invitation and the guest I called I called the celebrant. I said, "Are you starting your party truly at this 4 o'clock?" And she said, "No, I'm not starting because people come late anyway." So
Mm.
I don't think that's a good etiquette
No,
because
it's not.
if we say we're starting a party, even though it's only two people there, just start your party.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, I've
It's
had
respect. It's respect.
yeah, I remember when we were having my daughter's naming. I said, I think we put 2 o'clock. I'm not remember. It's quite a while now. I said we're starting 2 and we're gonna finish. Is it 6 or 7 o'clock? That's it. And you know what? We finished exactly that time. And it's because I was breastfeeding my baby in the car. That was when the people that were running late came. And they said this to me. They said, "What? You keep to your time?" I said, "Yes, that is my time."
Yes.
Understand? So we need to, if we know we're having a party, it's 2 o'clock, especially Saturday is a busy time,
Yes, it is.
and people coming to celebrate, they're just, they're just trying to honor you,
Yes,
celebrate
exactly.
you. Then we need to just keep to that time. Even though it's only three
Absolutely.
people at the hall, just start.
Absolutely. I agree.
Just
Definitely.
start. Yeah. Yeah, we're moving on. So who stands, who sits, and when? How can usher guide guests gratefully or
I
gracefully?
mean, guests stand for the entrance, key symbolic moments, when, maybe, the celebrants or the couple are coming in. Obviously, again, the compare of the day would obviously highlight when it is time to stand. It may be a case of maybe they want to give 1 minute respect, or it just could be anything. But the guest to take the lead from the compare, from the MC, signaling when to rise or sit without interrupting the flow. So, yeah.
Okay. Dress code and presentation. So how should guests interpret dress code and avoid common outfits?
Um,
Pass, yeah.
I mean, I think it's important is if you haven't been told, okay, it's an evening affair, it's a traditional affair, wear this color, wear that color, there's all sorts of things going on, which, then just follow the formality exactly when in doubt, just dress slightly smarter than you think. I think it's important that you dress slightly smarter. I went for an event yesterday, it was a friend's 50th birthday, and she just said, come dressed however you feel comfortable, just come and celebrate with me. And most people, I could say 99% of the females that we were all wearing like traditional dresses, not necessarily the wrapper and the blouse, but you know what I mean, all these actual kid mixed dresses and all that. It was really looking nice. And there was this lady there. Now nobody tied any head tie per se. Even her, she wore a nice, lovely green dress. It was very nice. It was also in a church as well. So sometimes the venue can actually dictate how formal you have to be or how relaxed you ought to be. And there was a lady there who was, wearing, and she was quite youngish in itself, and she actually tied a big head tie. She looked out of place, to be fair. And I think when I want to go to an event, especially when they haven't actually said, okay, this color or that tradition, I would always normally contact. So I did contact her and I said, okay, what to wear? What is it we're looking at? And if she's 50, obviously we're not, you know what I mean? So you kind of know the age range of what you're looking at in terms of what do you wear when you're at this age, that kind of a thing. We're coming to a church for Thanksgiving. It's not a sit down thing in terms of food and all of that. So you have to ask. I personally always make it a point of duty to ask. If you're unsure, because if it's one thing, you don't want to be underdressed and you don't want to be overdressed because you want to be comfortable.
Okay. So what will you say to people that always dress and, expose everything is showing, dropping off, all those stuff?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't have any control over that. I can, there's nothing I can do in terms of that. And people who do this are adults in any case, so they do know what they're doing.
Caution,
So
modesty.
yes, well, I understand. Yeah, modesty. Now one has to really think. Okay, in what capacity, in what respect? If you've come into a church for a Thanksgiving and you expose yourself, etc., I do believe there are protocol in place. Who are members of the church or part of the You know what I mean? The minister, they can actually have a polite word with you, or actually hand you a scarf, and they do that in churches. Generally where they would hand you a scarf, etc. They have scarves to hand to actually ask you to cover yourself. But at the end of the day, like I said, they're adults and they know what they're doing. They knew how they looked before they left the house. I don't know what intentions they have because I don't have any control over that. But depending on what it is, it would always be like that. That's something we don't have any control over.
Okay. Okay, but dress nicely. Okay.
Yes.
What is the respectful way to approach cultural attire? Borrowing, buying, or styling it right?
I think the most important thing is it doesn't matter whether you borrow or buy, as long as you style it right. If they have a color code, a color scheme, whether they want, I don't know, Ankara, they want brocade, they want this, stipulating, you want to fit, this is actually just style it right. Just look smart, be comfortable. I think that's more important because it's not just about how do the couple or the celebrant actually feel, it's about how do you feel in it, how comfortably are you, because it has to be an experience for you as well.
Okay. What are the right etiquette for phones and devices in an unplugged ceremony?
Oh man, this winds me up to the core. Like
Exactly.
it is so disrespectful. Yesterday I was at an event as well, and a friend's phone was ringing, and she was still trying to think of a way to take the call, and it was even in the church. And I thought, can you just switch it off? Just let it come off. You know what I mean? Like I even if you don't need to turn off your phone because at the end of the day, you don't want to miss maybe important missed calls, but put your phone on silent. My phone is permanently on silent anyway, so I don't have any unnecessary disruptions or forget to actually turn my phone off. But there are some people who would still take a phone call even in the midst of an event. And I think what I always do with people when people do that is I flip the coin. I said, if it was you, would you like it? And I think people need to begin to flip the coin and think, how would I feel if it was actually me in this situation? So keep your phones on silent. It's even even the same thing on an aeroplane. People just don't listen. They just don't follow it. They don't understand the disruption that it actually brings to an event. And I think it's just disrespectful. And it's something, even when it's highlighted and highlighted every time by the event, or should I say MC, people are just thinking, well, it's my phone. I can do what I want. And I think it's just important to put your phone on silent, keep them away, honor the couple's wishes or the celebrant's wishes for an uninterrupted moment. Because if you are taking a phone call, another person's taking a phone call, another person's taking it, these little disruptions create chaos.
And thank you for sharing that. So, if photos are allowed, what are the boundaries for posting or sharing online? That's another big etiquette issue.
It is a big etiquette, but I noticed that these days you don't really hear of anyone sort of or celebrants or couples actually saying please don't post, because at the end of the day they're also looking for some popularity. As far as I'm
Some
concerned,
people do. Some people.
everybody wants to be out there. So you don't really hear. I've never come across a situation where it says, okay, don't post until the couple shares. In fact, what happens, they'll give you a code and they're like, okay, why don't you share it on there so they can actually they don't miss any, you know what I mean, any photos. You know what I mean? They'll generate a QR code. They're happy when, everybody is just taking photos of them and posting it all over because, they feel like, we're out there. So, yeah. So it's not really been in a situation, I guess, maybe say, for example, like this, when stepping out of celebrations like weddings or birthday parties, and maybe you go to obviously galleries and places, museums and all of that, yes, as you come in, they would actually say turn off your device, keep it away, etc. But in terms of, like our ceremonies and parties, etc., I've never really seen anyone who's kicked a fuss because they posted a picture. Absolutely not.
Okay. So it doesn't matter when people take your picture and
No, if you don't want to be in the pictures, like when people are, say for example, I'm on the dance floor, I know, and when people get their lights out and they, get their tripods or whatever you want to call it, I just step away because I know if I'm on that dance floor with them, I'm dancing and they're doing the video, they're going to post it. I can't ask them to delete me, can I? So I just respectfully go and sit down, or I turn my back to them. So you yourself have to be intent. You yourself have to think, do I want to be in this photo? Do I want to be in this video? Do I want to be on social media?
Okay.
as a guest. Yeah.
So except the couples or the celebrant says, please don't take photos, then we can't count it as etiquette issue.
Yeah, absolutely. If it's not been highlighted from the onset, then yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. Okay, ceremony conduct. What are the do's and don'ts around noise, kids, rappers, whispering, and how can usher help?
The ushers, honestly, um, to be fair, do not have any, how do I put it, any power to help. Um, it's just unfortunate that, especially when they're back tables, like when they're far away from the front of the action, they tend to sort of get distracted and then obviously start making noise or talking. When you have 10 people talking on a table, it constitutes noise. And then another table next to it constitutes noise. And despite the fact that people are giving their speeches and, you're hearing all that noise and you're asking them to be quiet, even on the microphone, it dies down a little bit and they continue again because they're disinterested in what they're hearing. And I think it's absolutely rude. Um, and I think it's something that is just been constituted as bad behavior. A lot of bad behavior has been sort of accepted as the norm, which should not be the case. And so it's important that maybe if you have ushers who are standing around each of the tables, to actually just gently, sort of remind them without it sounding insulting. Because you have because obviously in terms of our culture, age is a big thing. So you can't have an usher who seems to look in their 20s telling a 50 something, 60-year-old to please stop talking. That can create a problem in the party and then even constitute into more chaos. So it's a very tricky thing. And then you find this really happens in really large events. Like I said, they're sort of disassociated from what is going on in the front. So, yeah. So, noisy guests. I mean, if you've got young children, um, you know, why did you not make provision for these young children to be catered for? In the sense that why didn't you get a kids entertainer or wedding crash, which I used to do as well. So lots of events I used to sort of work with were people who were having weddings, and I will be obviously contacted either to be the MC or actually also run a wedding crash, and I could do both at the same time because I got my staff. So all the children, any child from the age of 3 and above who were potty trained, were obviously kept in the creche area. So obviously that depends on the venue you have, where maybe they have an extra room, or that also depends on your finances as well. But my but my point is, if you don't cater for that, then expect it. If you're actually allowing them to come to the party, or unless you say no kids allowed. So there's so many ways in which you can go about it.
So how do we undo no kids allow? And some people have been to a party now whereby they put on their invitation that no kids. But some people bought the kid because someone was telling me if they said on your invitation no kids, yeah, why will other people bring their kids or their family member bring their kids? So
Well, to
what
be
do you
honest,
think to
to be
that?
honest with you, you can't. I mean, if for example, I'm having a no kids party. So, for example, getting married, having a no kids ceremony, and and I say I'm only having the kids of my immediate family, my siblings, their children coming. They are allowed because they're family, and it's not my responsibility to explain to anyone that these ones are allowed because this or the or that or the other. And it's also one way in which people try to minimize the number of kids who are actually coming. Before guests are invited, guests that that you have a relationship with, their family setup. That they have young kids, they have this, that, or the other. Now, if they're in a two-part family, there's a father and a mother, both of you don't have to attend. One of you can stay home and look after the kids. Who's the closest one? There's always a way around it. Or if you can't find a babysitting service for your child, or they haven't provided a creche, and for me, if I want to enjoy myself, I don't want to be taking my toddlers with me anyway.
I don't like taking my kids either.
Exactly. So the thing is, I don't have to be at the event. If I have to be at the event, I'd rather my kids are not with me. Or even if I take them with me, there should be a creche facility. Because at the end of the day, I want to even enjoy myself as a guest, and I know that my kids may run riot. Also, introducing, and I know it's difficult because you also have guests who are attending who have children who have special educational needs.
Hmm.
And, they come to the party because there's no one who can look after their child and they want to attend.
Hmm.
But the children also, in that respect, obviously seem to probably, obviously, distracted during the party because they're running around or moving around or making noises, etc. It's just trying to find the balance, really. And it's a difficult one, especially within our culture.
Hmm.
And like I said, you can't please everyone. It is what it is. You have to just decide what is important to you.
That's true. You have to seek what
You
you
have to,
want.
yeah.
Thank you. So, what is the proper way to present gifts to the couple during a ceremony?
I mean, the world has moved on so much now that most people don't even want gifts anyway, like physical gifts. You rarely see physical gifts at events these days. What can people actually want? They usually have a registry of maybe what they want. So, for example, okay, we are shopping at John Lewis. This is our list. They will have sent it to you prior to the time. So you go on there online and you purchase whatever, that's one. Secondly, some of the guests, the selling couples may actually say they only want money. Okay. Some may have some QR code system where you can actually give them something money. Like I said, because of technology, etc. You really, I don't remember the last time I've gone to an event, a wedding especially, where you see wedding gifts. No. Birthdays, yes. But wedding gifts, more often than not, they actually have registries that they've opened with different stores that you can actually purchase before, after the event.
So, what about if it's birthday? How do you
Mm.
present the gift or graduation ceremony?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on how well planned the event is in terms of the event coordinator or planner. One, you could have a designated area where people can drop off their gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't like doing that because they want to know that the celebrant knows that I dropped the gifts off. This is mine in case it gets mixed up. If you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
some people, yeah, like personally, I do not give gifts at
Mm,
the event. I
okay.
usually do it after the event. I go online, shop, and I post it to you. That's what works for me. Okay, so
Okay.
that way I know that that it's come from me, and I can manage it. Just my point, because
Mm,
so there are so many ways. You can either have a designated area, somebody is collecting for them, but more often than not, it's not for. And it depends on how big the event is. So you can be having a birthday party, the celebrant maybe you only have like 30, 40 kids. So yeah, sorry, 30, 40 people.
people.
So you can afford to give the celebrant the gift hand in hand, if you know what I mean. So it
Mm,
just depends.
okay. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. How can MCs, musicians, and officiants keep remarks inclusive and appropriate? Some of these people, when they're giving that, they make unnecessary joke, unnecessary silly things. They
Mm,
say some things that even sometimes the celebrants or the couples might just say, oh, why is she saying this? Why is he saying that? So how can they keep remark inclusive and appropriate?
I think in the first place, talking from an MC's point of view, which there are two things, two types of, should I say, clients when it comes to MCing. Maybe
Mm,
somebody I already know, which makes my life much easier. So I
okay.
understand their culture, I understand their religion, I understand their background, I understand their education, I understand, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
understand, yeah, and I know the type of guests who actually come in, etc. And it could be a cold client, someone who's just contacted me, oh, I met you at a party, I saw you at so and so party, and I'd like you to do my events. And they were just a guest at that party and they don't even have common friends. So
Okay.
I have a list I will send out to you and all the questions that I would like to find out about you. So that I know the boundaries that I need to put in place. You see
Okay.
my point? I also want to know the types of guests that are coming, where are they coming from, which country, within where, what is the age range? You know what I mean? There's so many questions I like to ask. So if you don't do your homework as an MC, you may be stepping outside some boundary lines that may not seem outside to you, but because you haven't done your homework properly, you're
Mm,
actually stepping on people's toes and even the toes of the celebrant. So, you have to avoid inside jokes and focus on celebrating, obviously, the celebrant or the couple and their community. So I have to have an understanding of all the communities, especially now that we have a lot of, I did a 60th birthday a couple of months ago. And so his dad had been married. He was 60, but his dad had, and I found out that his dad had him when he was 17. So the dad is 77. So the dad had been married, and he married a Bulgarian. So he had a whole Bulgarian community that actually flew in and came in. Then you had his mom's side, who they were not married. So I needed to understand the dynamics. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to be saying, where's daddy and mommy? So I knew there was a stepmom. I knew there was this. And, you have to understand the dynamics of what is going on there. How do they get along? Do they live together? Are there any other siblings? Okay, these are the step siblings that are half. So you need to understand, do they get along? So you need to understand the job of the MC is not just on the day, especially, like I said, when it's a cold client where you know nothing about them. You need to understand the dynamics of every intricate thing going on in their lives as much as they can tell you, so you know where you can tread.
Wow, that's it. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, we're going to vows, readings, and religion moments. How can non-religious guests show respect during prayers or sacred moments?
Yeah, I teach in a Catholic school. And the Catholic school is not open to just people who are Catholic. It's open to everyone.
Okay.
And my school is a very diverse community, very diverse school with children from over 50 different countries, different religions, etc. We pray before every lesson. And the prayers obviously can be the Hail Mary, and it could be Our Father, it could be anything. I'm not a Catholic, so I don't say the Hail Mary. But when I invite a child to pray or I'm praying, I expect that everyone stands still, no hands in bags, your honor. I sort of always start off by saying, we're not doing this for ourselves or for me, we're doing this unto God. Okay? And we respect. The same way we respect one another, we need to respect God. And so therefore it's important that, you stand or sit with the congregation, depending on how you have been obviously told, they tell you what to do, and you stay quiet and you observe the moments of prayer respectfully without needing to participate fully. Just remain silent. So I have lots of students remain silent, but they have to stand still. You have to be quiet because we are giving honor to whom honor is due.
That's true. That's true. That's a good one. So what is the etiquette for personal vows, length, tones, privacy, and how should guests respond?
Now, guests should listen silently and respond with, applause at the end. Because obviously, vows are like the most significant and important part of, marriage, or should I say the wedding on the day. And therefore, guests should actually just take the lead as to what is actually going on, and just be, respect that moment, especially when you've been there. It's a very solemn time. In fact, for me, that is it. This is it. So, and that's why you find that obviously people like to keep those type of ceremonies quite intimate, so that there are very few distractions in terms of the number of people who actually attend. So they can blow up the reception, but when it comes to that part of it, they like to keep it small. They like to keep it family oriented to the nearest and dearest, so that there is that warm response.
Yeah. No, that's good. So if a guest behave badly, who step in and how is it handled discreetly? Yeah.
Now, a planner, the usher, or a trusted family members can step in discreetly. Of course, never the couple, never the celebrant. In fact, rarely do you even know about it. The goal is, having a calm removal, not confrontation, because you don't want to aggravate it. Anger versus, anger would rouse the anger. You don't want to rage bait. You don't want to make it worse. It has to be calm. And now even looking at it from that point of view, like, okay, just step outside. You need a breather. Just even if they're shouting, you're just like, you know what, it's not worth it. You're drawing attention to yourself. You're talking to them calmly, despite the fact they're speaking to you very loudly, because what you don't want is to get everybody aware of what is actually going on. You need to contain it. So it has to be done professionally.
Okay, that's good. Okay, the next question is about that as well, a little bit different. So it's about how should guests respond to unexpected events like weather changes, medical issues without causing panic?
Hmm. I mean, it's hard. I mean, we see this on television all the time. Everybody says, "Oh, stay calm," but that's not our default when unexpected events occur. We have to
Mm,
comment, we have to react, etc. But obviously, it's whoever is trying to calm the situation that needs to actually speak in a very calming manner. Guys, let's stay calm. We need to follow instructions. We need to avoid drawing attention. We need quiet cooperation because that will keep the couple relaxed. You have to remember it's their day. We need to resolve this as soon as quickly as possible. It's the way the message is passed across is actually critical as well. So therefore, then because people will respond the way you respond to them.
okay. So what about food? Food and souvenirs.
Hmm.
Giving guests, some parties they fight, they said they didn't give me this. And the issue of food when they are calling tables, maybe table one, and before you see table, somebody from table 10 ran in front of the people in table one.
Yeah.
Food. How do we handle it?
It's a tricky one. It's a very tricky one. It's a very, very tricky one, and it takes a lot. I mean, personally,
Mm,
yesterday I went out. I always have food in my bag when I'm going to a party. If I've not, even when I've eaten, because I had my apple, I had my biscuits in my bag. Because if anything goes wrong, there are three things that can happen. They may not call me on time. The food may not be there, or the food may not even be edible. So I'm always careful to make sure. When my mother raised me, make sure you've eaten before you left the house. Obviously, I ate before I left, but the whole ceremony itself was quite long, the travel time, etc. So 5 hours had elapsed. So obviously, I was hungry. So obviously, it's a tricky one. Now, some people may need to eat immediately because of their medical needs that are not obviously obvious. It's like when you go on the trains, and I like the way TFL, the Transport for London, have done it, or travel, where you have badges that are given to people to say this person may need a seat. So they
yeah.
don't have to be pregnant or disabled. They just need to sit down because they have a medical issue. So you may have those type of guests who maybe they need to actually eat because they need to take their medication. They got to the party on time. There's so many things, and some people are just impatient, and it's not the right thing. Or they feel that they've gotten to the party on time. They got there at 3 o'clock. They didn't start till 5, and this table that arrived at maybe 6 o'clock, for example, are the ones they're calling first. You know what I mean? Oh, they're elderly. There's so many things to it. There's so many things that I don't think it's an intentional thing. And also, you also have a table where, especially sometimes people forget, you should always look out for calling the elderly table, look out for calling those with children. It's like when we're traveling, when you go on a flight, they
Yeah.
invite the elderly. I mean, apart from those who paid the premium price, after they invite the elderly people, they
Um,
invite those with children,
mm,
and likewise then follow through with the rest. So that should be something that can be incorporated as well, within,
in the past.
yes.
So now if they are doing I think it's the work of the MC now. So that the MC will have to say, okay, people that have, but don't you think it's a party? People will not be ashamed when they say, if you have a medical challenge, you need to eat early, come
I
to
mean,
the front. I know
I don't.
I've been to a party whereby they call the elderly first.
Yes, elderly first for
Yeah,
me.
I've
Elderly
been to a
first,
party, one
and then
party
those
like
with
I can't
children,
remember, but
and
yeah.
those with children. Yes. So
No, they
elderly
don't say so
first.
to children. They just say
Yes.
children come to this side. But the elderly, I remember that party. They say I think it's a wedding as well. They
Yeah.
say elderly people come to the table first.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. Elderly first, then those with children.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, if I know that I'm going to need to eat, I better, organize myself, and make sure I'm eating very well before. I don't leave my house unless I am full up. It's just the standard thing. So those are the kind of things that you can do to mitigate anything where you're thinking, oh my God, I'm about to faint. I need food, and they haven't called your table. At the end of the day, what if you have about 30 different people like that in the event? It then becomes chaos. So personally, as a guest, I always tell people, look, the way I was raised is, look, never go out unless you're full.
But
It's
what about
standard.
people coming from work? Because especially in the country where we live,
Mm,
some people they come from work to go to people's party.
Yeah, but if you're
Or
coming
maybe
from
they are
work to
coming
go to,
from conference. They
if you are coming from work to go to somebody's parties, I do believe that there are places along the way that you can actually maybe buy yourself a drink or buy something. If that's my point, or you always have to think about the worst case scenario. The food may be available, but it may not be edible. The food may be there. For example, I don't eat cold food. I cannot stand it.
I don't
So
like.
the etiquette of when you go to a restaurant with your friends and then they bring your food first and I'm having to wait. I always excuse myself and I say, look, I can't wait for you because I don't eat cold food. I can't stand it. I can't even eat warm food. Do you see my point? So if I don't wait and someone doesn't know, but I always explain. Do you see my point? So I explain that I can't, like yesterday, I think I went out and then they brought her food. We went for brunch. They brought her food and then they hadn't brought mine. And then she was waiting for me. I said, look, you know what? I know you don't really enjoy cold food. So just start eating. It's okay. I'm fine. So I understand it's an etiquette, but at the end of the day, your etiquette must not be detrimental to you. But just explain. Communication is key. That's my point.
Exactly. That's good. That cold food is a no-no to me as
I
well.
can't do it. So if I go to a party and the food is cold, I can't eat it. There's no hunger in this world. I will not. I'd rather drink and be full up. You know.
Exactly. Yeah. I think is very good as well for personal etiquette too, to eat before you leave your
Oh
house.
no, it's
Don't
important.
take
Yes.
something. Yeah, I like to take something before I leave for party. I'm
Every
truly.
time I can't do it. I
I
just
had
won't
a
do it.
I had a story. It's a true life stuff, but I wasn't part of the party. It
Mm,
happened in North London. I think it's going to be about 3-4 years going now. So
mm,
the we're told that the caterer,
yeah,
yeah, the caterer disappointed the guest. I mean,
yeah,
sorry, the celebrant for
yeah.
the wedding. So they were meant to start the wedding. I think the hall was opposite Tottenham, this Tottenham football
Stadium, yeah.
stadium here. So they said by the time they arrived from the church to the reception, the caterer wasn't there.
Okay.
So I think what happened, something they said something happened to the lady's husband. I don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking she should have starved, isn't it? So unfortunately, there is no food. No
Mm,
food, no food. Everybody was there, and they said they have more than 200 guests.
mm.
They have to cross across the road buying chicken and chips for people to eat, which is
and
not.
that is why some people when they're planning their events they don't like to leave it to one caterer. So that helps to mitigate
That's
against that
another
kind of
good one.
issue.
And I think some people as well, I know people are budgeting. It could be because of money as well. They are looking
Mm.
for the cheaper one. Because I was just thinking that, okay, a caterer, if truly this is a caterer, this is me thinking now that if it's a caterer, it should have staff,
Well,
because of
it
emergency.
depends on what may have happened when you're not in your right mind. If it's a medical thing, say for example, maybe a husband had his slumped or had a heart attack, I kid you not, you're not even thinking about anything else. So that is secondary. So unfortunately, they bore the brunt of it, but she was dealing with her own dilemma. So these are some of these things that we cannot explain. I mean, if you've been, I mean, there are weddings where the groom or the bride doesn't turn up. So hey, how much more food? You know what I mean? So it is life. There would always be different types of things going on. At that point in time, she wasn't probably thinking straight. I mean, I'm thinking about an event. There's nothing you could possibly do about it.
So
Anything out of your control is out of your control.
that's true. Okay, that's fine. So I think the encouragement now, we won't say advice, is that
Mm.
you get to caterers.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
why not? Why not? Why not diversify your risk is what I'm saying. Exactly. Diversify your risk. I mean, and it's very common, especially when you have parties in Nigeria. You never find them giving it to one caterer. Absolutely not. You can have up to 4 caterers on the day, just in the event that one's food finishes, this one goes there, that one's jollof rice is fitted, it's just what it is. So you may be able to do that, or you can say, I mean, what some people would do, say, for example, the caterer disappointed, but the person who is doing the apula, for example, is somebody else, and there's a station for that. You have your small chopsticks. There's always a way around it. I mean, 99% of the people who are having parties here, or what have you, have been exposed to the way parties are actually done back home in Nigeria. so they know that there are options.
Okay. Before our final question, what about souvenir? We didn't talk about souvenirs. I've seen people fighting over souvenirs, and we didn't mention the issue about people when you go to party take away, all this takeaway stuff.
I think it's just a habit that we actually have. It's not like you don't have food in your house. Yeah.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
just that the party food sometimes tastes better. And it's just like,
You
at this
think
time.
so?
No, I mean, at the time, because, not so much so tastes better. It's different. It's different to your cooking. You're kind of bored of your cooking and you're thinking, I'd rather not cook on a Sunday or a Saturday, the next day. Sunday food is sorted, So,
Mm.
in terms of food, if offered to you, why not? At the end of the day, take it. Why not ask for it? It's just something that we do. We ask for if there's takeaway. I mean, if the food is good, that is. It's not in all situations. If I taste jollof rice and I know, oh my gosh, this is amazing. You're lurking around and thinking, there's still like usually there's always food left. Is there takeaway bowl? In fact, there was an event. Where did we go? I don't know what. I went for a party. Yeah, I went for an event last week, and it was, and the lady had said on the group, so it was in her house, but it was about 30 or 40 of us, and she had said to us that, look, bring your takeaway bowls. I don't have bowls, and there'll be food left.
Oh,
And
she
we all
already
took our
said
bowls. So as soon as we and as soon as we finished eating, she was like, everybody, start packing up your food. Start packing whatever you want, as soon as you finish
that.
eating. And I thought that was really cool. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, because that's just what it is. Food makes us happy. Not that it's not the eating of the food, it's the fact that I don't have to enter my kitchen and cook the next day. That's just
Mm.
what it's all about. Now, in terms of souvenirs, I guess again, like takeaway, it's not like you need it. How many mugs can you possibly need? How many? What can I say is inside this souvenir bag? I mean, there's nothing, especially when you live in the Western world here. There's nothing they can give you that you don't need, but it's just that habit that's been imbibed in us since we were young that we have to have, you know, a souvenir. So it's like children going to a party and they don't get their party pack. You would think all hell is going to break loose.
Mm.
I remember when I used to do entertainment and I had to give out the party bags. Oh my gosh. I had to be extremely strategic. I'll be like, parents, go and sit down. Because I'm not even any parents. I want the child itself lining up. I don't want to see any child here. The only time I want to see a parent with a child is if the child cannot walk by themselves. So
Mm.
literally 0 to 2. I will do you. You come with your child, then I give it to you. So I'm not giving you. You're not telling me because parents will be like, I have 3 children. They are sitting down. No, I need to see the 3 children. I'm sorry, but I've been instructed to ensure that I am providing this party bag to the child. I want this, I want that. This is what we have. This is the color that we have. I'm not picking colors, I'm just giving it to you randomly. I would appreciate if you would just say thank you. So I used to be very strict with it. And I would always say to the celebrants never to give out the party packs because you would offend so many people. Because if the celebrant is the one giving out the party packs, so and you don't give to the people that they wanted to give 3 or 4 or 5, it's going to cause a lot of problems. So party packs, souvenirs in party packs for children's parties, souvenirs in parties, pretty much the same thing. The event I went for yesterday, it's on your way out that you get your party pack, which I think actually really works, to be fair.
Mm.
So on your way out, and I think the way that ended, there was only one entrance into the place and only one exit. So when you're leaving, there's somebody sitting with the bags and they hand you a party bag and then you go. So you're not collecting more than one. And it wasn't a case of, okay, one person between one party bag between a couple. No, it was one each, you know.
Mm. Yeah, I've been to a party whereby people they gave the souvenir, and
Mm,
then some people came with something else. They were handing it out to people,
mm.
and some people then when they were going, they said, "Oh, they didn't give it to us," and they were really angry.
Yeah, I think it's actually, I find it, what's the word? So you have friends who obviously, so there's the souvenir from the celebrant, right, or the couple, and then you have friends, okay, different friends who would say, okay, I brought 60 umbrellas, I'm going to give it to your friends, etc. And then you're ignoring the family and the in-laws, and they're thinking, what's all this side thing going on? You have another friend who's brought 50 kettles and only wants to give your own family and not your friends. Do you see what's going on here? So
Mm-hmm.
we cause the problems. If you are not able to give everybody, then why do it at all? Why do you have to segregate? If you want to do that, then give those things to the couple or the celebrant and ask them to do it after the party without offending anybody else. So I have a problem with that, and I know it's difficult. Where, like I said, 60 umbrellas. We're only going to give it to the friends. What about the family, the other in-laws? You know what I mean? And then
Mm.
someone another person comes, the handkerchief is only for the men. What about it was only for the older men. It's not for the, you know what I mean? So all that segregation and all of that is what causes the problem. Like people think, so I'm not good enough. Oh, so this, that, and the other.
So is it part of our etiquette?
Um, I don't
Or
know. It's a tricky one because at the end of the day, I, as a guest, a friend of the celebrant, has said, I only have money to make 100 pieces. Yes, you have 200 guests, but this is what I have. What I will do, and I know what somebody did, was I remember one of my friend's weddings. What she did was she dropped everything off at her friend, the person's house that was getting married a week before. This is what I've done for you, do with it what you may. So she then packed it in all her own, you know what I mean,
Mhm.
souvenir bags that she made for people. So because everything is in a bag, you don't even know what is inside. You know what I mean? Like whether that one has that or this. So when we're packing the bags, I remember we're all packing. So when we bring out, we'll be like, okay, we use the 60 for these ones. Let's use the other 60 for the other ones. So they're not getting two. They all get one, but the one thing may be different in addition to whatever is in the bag. Do you see my
Mhm.
point?
Yeah, that
So
makes
the person in question bought everything and went to drop it off with the celebrant to say, "This is what my contribution is. Do with it as you may."
that's a good one. So our final question: what is the etiquette for covertee?
Mm. And how long should the
Congratulations. And
competition?
how long should guests stay?
Mm. I mean, use confetti only when it's permitted. It's not in all events, or should I say, all establishments in question that confetti is allowed. Because
Okay.
as we do know, some people want to pop the confetti and it can trigger an alarm. Some people want to use paper confetti. It's actually very hard to clean up. Some people, the couples themselves, do not like the confetti because it just distracts them from when photos are being taken, and all of that. So I think this is something that needs to be communicated by the planners. In terms of how long you should stay, congratulate the couple briefly and remain for the photos unless otherwise told so. So you're there, you're not standing and hanging around, all the time with them within that period in question. Take a seat. When you're invited to take photos with them, just congratulate them and move on. It also depends on the type of relationship you actually have with the couple or one of the couples or the celebrant as well.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. So, what advice will you give to someone planning their wedding? What are the things they need to look for, or what are the things they need to incorporate when they are planning, or what are the things they don't need to, is not necessary for them?
I think the most important thing is to have an effective and efficient, experienced event planner
Mm,
for before the event and an efficient event coordinator for the execution on the day. It is critical, it is crucial. The lines of communication must be opened at all times.
okay.
They must be willing to adapt and they must be willing to take decisions on your behalf without having to burden you with unnecessary demands that others are making. So once you have someone who knows what they're doing, who's walked these walks before, who can anticipate challenges that may arise and already has contingency plans in place as to how to deal with them, then it's a walk in the park, really. Because what you don't want is to be overwhelmed and be aware of every nitty gritty thing going on behind the scenes, being the bride or the groom, but you want to be able to, enjoy the process of the planning and as well as enjoying the day as well. Now, the don'ts, I would say, is I don't know. I mean, the don'ts for the couple in terms of what they should not do. I don't think there's anything that should not be done if it's something you want to have done. Just make sure that any expectations you have concerning your guests, your family, should be clearly communicated from the onset. The same way in which obviously these expectations must be communicated by families even to the couple themselves, so that there is some form of agreement, and then you can all move forward. I mean, you find people planning a wedding for a year or more, etc. There's so much disagreement going on, a lot of friction, etc. Understand culture,
Mm,
respectfully. I think it's important, especially, yes, you were born into an African family, but you've never been raised in Africa. Understand culture, ask questions. It's important. This is, especially when you look at weddings, this is the coming together of two families to become one. It's not just the man and the woman coming together to become one. There has
mm,
to be a lot of communication around culture. There has to be a transparency around the history of the family. There has to be a lot of communication around, the ethnicity itself. So just because you're all from the same Ijebu does not mean that what happens in Ijebu Remo is happening in Ijebu Ode, etc. It's being intentional about finding out what is going on, what traditions are important, what is important to the family. It's a fusion. And obviously, the event coordinator, the event planners, the compares, the MCs, or all of that also need to be in tune.
mm,
Everybody's working together for the common cause. But above all, the most important thing, obviously, to the couple is not just the wedding day itself. The
mm,
focus really should be on their marriage, and not let the wedding, on all the you know the Pharisees around it, sort of discolor the beginning of their marriage. Also, with celebrants for, maybe, I don't know, different types of events. It could be birthday parties, it could be
mm,
book launches, it could be anything. Should just ensure that they do what is going to make them happy on the day. You can't please everyone; it's not possible.
true.
I always say to myself, if you fall for everything, you stand for nothing. This is what you want, this is what I want, and you've communicated that very, very clearly. I do not want kids at my wedding. I absolutely do not want them. They are a distraction. Oh, it's because you haven't had kids. I agree. It's my wedding. This is what I want. If you're unable to attend, I really am sorry. I would have loved you to be there. I've given you ample opportunity and time to, you have 6 months before the wedding. So you have 6 months to plan for a sitter or for a family member to look after this child, so you could actually attend and share my great day. But if it's not possible, it's not a big deal. Those are the simple things. So communication must be timely. Communication must be clear. It's critical. Once those are in the works, then honestly, you have nothing to worry about.
Wonderful. Thank you. You always you even you mentioned everything about my summary. So anyway, thank you so much, Mrs. Oloxi.
That's
Thank
it.
you so much for your time, and thank you
You're
so much for
welcome. It
those
was a pleasure.
insights. Thank you so much for that insight. And for all our audience, and there's people organizing the parties, wedding. You've had it all from my guest. Number one, the key things is communication.
It is critical.
Communication, and if families are saying one thing or the, just sit down, have a proper meeting. This is our day, or this is what we want to do. And for our guests, please
Respectfully.
RSVP on time.
Yeah,
you know
respectfully. Everything has to be done respectfully. We need to honor one another, because there is life
mm,
beyond all these
all the
celebrations.
celebration.
There is life, there was life before it, there will be life after it. So it's not worth damaging relationships over, it's not worth dishonoring one another over, and people begin to carry resentment, or, you know what I mean,
Mm,
anger, or harbor, ill feelings. It's not really worth it.
mm,
Absolutely not. It's a joyous occasion, and it should exude joy all the way through.
that's a good one. That is that from us. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.
Absolutely, you too. Thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. It's
Thank
been
you.
very insightful having to think about, you know, all the sort of dimensions to etiquette that should be observed or should be
Mm,
respected to some extent, and how these etiquettes in question need to be communicated beforehand.
mm,
Because, like I said, there's a lot of bad behavior that has
mm.
become the norm. And if you're going to break these strongholds, you have to make it very clear as to what you want and what you don't want.
That's very true. That's it. Thank you.